This is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 455. I'm Brandon Schultz, and I am joined by my good buddy, Adam Emmert. Adam, traveling on the road this week, but we're getting a show in, even though our Seahawks, Adam, we're still recovering after being on the losing end of a pretty infuriating game this last Sunday.
Yeah, infuriating is a fair enough word. Deflating is maybe one that I would go with also, and I think one that we talked about during the post-game show. It's been a long trip. We're 2,000 miles in. We're on our second sawmill. It's been interesting, and I'm a little tired, and I'm a little grumpy, and a lot of the grump really comes from what we saw on Sunday. Infuriating, frustrating, all that stuff. How about just catfish? Stupid.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and because it didn't need to be that stupid. And a part of it is, I think the thing that was the most frustrating about it was how we were starting to really buy in on the defense. And then we saw it kind of revert to some of the issues that we saw prior to 4 weeks ago. The entire game, really, if you think about the progress that the offense has made and also the progress that the defense has made, it all reverted back to what we were seeing 4 or 5 weeks ago. The defense able to get back on track relatively in the second half. The offense, and it was a disaster the entire game, and that was exacerbated by the fact that Sam Howell had to come in for an injured Geno Smith.
Yeah. Look, as far as the defense goes and talking about reverting, I can live with a half where it reverted. Now, it was obviously as bad as it gets, as they just ran it right down our throats pretty much the entire first half. And then from that point, the first drive, and then from that point, LaFleur just had the defense on a string and had all the answers to whatever the counters could be right out of the gate and just had them on their heels. But to see them come back the second half and start to put it together and play a much better second half, I get way less angry about the defense, because that's one bad half in the last, 4 or 5 games, and it was against their first big-time opponent. And so just kind of getting used to that and a little higher quality of competition, that's far more excusable, and something that since they put together a better second half, I can go, okay, all right, I can see it. Still, is that good? No. But at the end of the day, I can see the trajectory towards the defense being a good defense in the long term. Offensively, that was freaking excusable.
Let's get to the offense in a second.
Okay.
Because I want to go back to the defense, because is it inexcusable when it's now becoming a Seahawks problem that Mike Macdonald, when he faces better coaching, ends up getting out coached? Like, that part of it is the trend that is a little bit disturbing to me.
I mean, I guess when you're a first-time coach and you're just trying to get this team to start playing with the identity that you want to play with.
Oh, yeah.
Look, if you're going to struggle against some of the upper-level competition in your first 3 quarters of a season, I'm not going to throw my arms up in the air and be like, oh, Mike gets out-coached every time he is against a good coach. What shall we do? I find that to be insane thinking. I really think that we've seen him against Shanahan, for example, go out and really give him the business here earlier in the year. They played McVay tough earlier in the year. They still ended up losing the game because Ryan Grubb is easily the worst offensive coordinator in the entire league. But in terms of Mike being outcoached by these other top-tier opponents, this is his first go-around, man. Look, if this turns into a narrative that starts creeping into his 3rd season as head coach, okay, I can give that some merit. But at this point, with a roster that was mostly constructed for not him, and in the middle of towards the end of his first season, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that.
That does sound like some excuses you could also use if you're a huge Ryan Grubb fan. But I think
No, the only excuse for being a huge Ryan Grubb fan as an NFL head coach is traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, and I mean, just being a fan of the person and wanting him to succeed. I think
that's a different comment. Yeah,
it's a different, but that's also a viable opinion to have. Like if you like the guy and you want him to do well, then that's fine. But in terms of what he's been able to do, I feel really bad, Adam, because I really thought that he was kind of on that trajectory of, okay, he had learned some things in the first half of the season. We'd seen some growth. We had seen him trying some things, and those were starting to work. And then we get to this game against the Packers, and it all went out the window. The Geno Smith pick in the red zone, I feel like not only was it a Geno Smith issue, but it's a Ryan Grubb issue. And then on top of it, I mean, we see Sam Howell come into the game, and it's still pass happy offense, even though they're within 2 scores. Gosh, I saw backup. We'll get into the Vikings and the coming up, but I watched the Vikings and the Bears game, and the Bears were running down 13 in the third quarter against a Vikings defense, and they were having relative success. It's like, okay, well, they're on their backup offensive coordinator, and even they realize that in the NFL, you can still run the ball when you're down 2 scores, and it probably is more effective than especially having a backup quarterback behind a really a struggling offensive line that's down to their 3rd string center and their 3rd string right guard.
Yeah. So we can get to the Sam Howell section of the game here in a little while and the way that Grubb attacked that at that point in the game. But okay, that's fine and all. But I think more importantly is kind of what happened throughout the game all the way up to the Geno injury. And look, you kind of hit a few nails on the head there. And one, we saw basically some-ish progress in the Jets game. We saw it look more like it ought to against the second matchup in the Cards. And then, so a whopping like 2-ish games, a game and a half, however you want to look at it, with the entire first part of the season being stupid college rinky-dink BS and not understanding how NFL football works really in any way, shape, or form. And so you watch that game against the Cardinals and you go, hey, okay, maybe he has turned a page here. And he understands you can't just sit in shotgun, drop back game, put Geno on one spot, let the entire defense know what the catfish is coming every single freaking play, and then just throw the ball every single time, wasting a great talent in K9 and a fine talent in Charbonnet. And like, it's the dumbest thing. It is the dumbest thing watching the Packers play offense. It wasn't just infuriating that our defense looked like crap against it for the first half. What was infuriating about it is you're like, that right there. That's NFL offense. See how they're under center? See how they bludgeon you with the running back? See how that opens up everything else? And your quarterback doesn't have to be a catfishing hero every single play? Like that's NFL football. Ryan Grubb, what he put out there on the field against the Packers was nothing that looked like that. It was the exact opposite. Like it's like he's actively trying to do everything conversely to what works in this league. And I'm at the point now, like, because it's seeing a little bit of growth against the Jets and then a little bit more growth against the Cardinals. I'm like, all right, like maybe he'll make it to year 2. Maybe he's worth giving a shot for his second year. And I've been saying forever, give him 2 years, right? From the day he was hired. You need to give this guy 2 years. Then after that game, I'm done. I am done with this dude. Love the guy. Have beers with him, sit around the campfire, no problem. Like the dude. As an offensive coordinator, that ain't it. He has to go.
I'm on board, and yeah, especially, we talked about giving 2 years. I don't think we need to do that. And so I'm right there with you. Especially in a game where up against this Packers defense, I think you would have had the capability to make some drives. Okay, the weird thing is, Adam, about the idea about being back in gun. Like early on in the season, what were we crushing him for? It was looking like deep ball, explosive hunting. And now we've given that part of it up and just dropped back into shotgun and doing dink and dunk down the field, which is not reducing, it's not resulting in any explosive plays at all. And so it's like the worst part of both worlds of, like, if you're going to drop back in shotgun, then yeah, I guess you want to at least hunt for some explosives sometimes, but you're not getting any of that. And then you talk about the under center stuff. 5 plays. They were under center. We talked after the game. We're like, did they do it at all? Yeah, they did it 5 times. They did it 3 times with Geno. They did it 2 times with Howell. And the 2 times with Howell was on like the final drive, a couple of handoffs to George Holani.
Yeah, it's insanity. And you did the legwork on that and looked that up, and thank you for doing it, because, I mean, it's complete insanity. And you talk about, all right, they were just hunting for big plays earlier in the season. Well, that's because everybody was trying to respect all 3 receivers on the field, and DK wasn't getting doubled and tripled every single freaking play. That's what's happening now. He is the deep threat. Jackson's been very good in the intermediate and short stuff, but he hasn't been fantastic as a take the top off the defense type of guy. That's not necessarily his game. He's not a burner. He's not a speedster. He's more of the savvy Tyler Lockett type, which is great. That's a skill set that you need on your team, and a fantastic guy to have as your like 1B or number 2 guy. But the teams have just said, oh, all the explosives come from DK. All right, we'll double, triple him. They won't use their tight end. And guess what? We won't have to worry about having the safeties roll deep and putting double, triple teams on DK, because Ryan Grubb just can't be bothered to run the football because he just doesn't care. And it's just, and not only that, but then the tell of they're going to throw the football every damn time, being in gun, just like solidifies it at the end. It's literally doing every possible thing to work against yourself as an offense. And I heard Daniel Jeremiah talking about it on Brock and Salk show the other day. He was saying, well, this offensive line, like, yeah, it hasn't been good in pass pro. And, Lamea, when he was coming out of college, I loved him as a run blocker, but as a pass blocker, is a little sketch. And, you look at this group as a whole, as they're built right now, they're a better run blocking unit than they are a pass blocking unit. Well, then let's drop into gun and drop back every single time. Not even play action, just drop back. And we'll just expect them. We'll put our players in the worst possible situation to succeed, and give the defense all the tells to know what they're about to do, and then be mad that the offensive line isn't good. This is Ryan Grubb. He has to go.
I think it'll happen. We do have to wait till the end of the season, so I don't know if we need to bang the table about it. I think I feel like it's going to happen. I don't have any, insider information. I think it's very obvious. It should be obvious enough to everybody. And if it's not obvious, you see Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt, a couple of backup interior defensive linemen who are the leading pressure guys in a game. There's no way. The reason why those guys are leading the team in pressures is because they don't have to worry about the run. They're there to stop it, but they don't. When they don't have to worry about it, they go, oh well. If I just don't even have to worry about the single responsibility that I have on this field is to stop the runs up the middle, then I get to tee off against third string interior linemen, or second string for a little bit when Oluwatimi was in there. But that third quarter, man, a lot of people wondering why Laumea had a 1.6 of pass blocking grade.
PFF grade,
yeah. It was very obvious when you go. He was fine through the first half, but in that third quarter, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just going to destroy this dude," and they teed off on him, and that's a lot of it is where that bad grade comes from, is the third quarter. And it was a disaster.
There was the one particular drive there in the third quarter where it was every single play, LeMay got blowed up one way or the other.
And it was different ways. They one was a spin move by it was like TJ Slayton, I think, put like the 6 spin move on him. Maybe it wasn't Slayton. Maybe it was Carl
one of the other
Brooks.
dudes.
It might have been Carl Brooks that did it because I don't see any pressures from Slayton. But it was probably Carl Brooks. And then another play where they dropped, I think it was Edgerrin Cooper that just dropped down from the linebacker spot and slammed into the side of Laumea and nearly knocked him off his feet, which then allowed either Wyatt or Brooks to break up in the middle and get pressure on the quarterback. It was a clinic on how you beat an offensive line just by going through one player.
100%. And then since you only run one style of offense, not even a style, one basic concept out of the passing game, which is drop back, no play action, no under center, no boots, no movement, none of that. Nothing. No. Absolutely nothing else. It makes it so incredibly easy for the best athletes on the planet at this job of playing defensive line to just wreck somebody who's just getting their feet wet in the NFL and a group that's struggling as a whole. It's so derelict on duty from the offensive coordinator that honestly, man, like I tried to give this dude a shot, and we're just at this spot now. And you're right, it's not going to happen here through the season, but at the end of the year, for Coach Mike's credibility with the team, he has to fire this guy. Like, how can you look at the team and be like, we want to be a physical, smash mouth ball control team, same on defense, basically, mirror that defensively and be a Raven style type football, old Seattle style type football, and still keep this guy as your OC? You can't do it. And I'll tell you right now, man, and we'll get to it, I have even less faith that it's going to go in the right direction here against the Vikings.
Another reason why he has to do it is because every single week he goes in front of the media and talks about the type of football team that he wants to be. And then he has to respond to questions about, well, why aren't you doing the things that would require you on offense to be that type of football team that you tell us that you want your offensive team to be every week? Like, how does that message not make it? And he's talked about it, how he has these conversations with Grubb. Like, how is the message then not being translated and communicated and then put into action on a weekly basis? Like, how is that disconnect possible week after week after week?
It's an amazing question. I honestly have no clue. It's like he feels like a child who is actively defying his parent right now, like a teenager that's just like, whatever it is that you say, I'm doing exact opposite no matter what. Like, that's what it feels like up to this point in the season. And if Coach Mike isn't pulling his hair out, like when he gets home after, being a good dad to his new son and, hanging with his wife and everything, and then going into the bathroom and just like screaming into the mirror and pulling his hair out. I don't know how this man copes. Maybe he is just a robot. But if I were the head coach of this team, like, something has to change. Something. And, at some point you gotta think more about the long-term success of this football team than the short-term, because obviously going into the Packers game, Ryan Grubb was like, yep, well, the best way to beat this Packers team is through the air. Their pass rush is not all that great, and their pressure rates aren't all that great. They're near the bottom of the league, so we can get away with it. So that's what I'm going to do. And then down 13, I'm going to go to my worst instincts and double, triple, quadruple down on putting my players in the worst position to win. I can't understand it.
I don't understand how Reek Woolen, as talented as he is, in his third season, now under defensive coach Mike Macdonald, how he's regressing. Like, it's been like, this game was one of his worst. And he's had his moments throughout the season, but when you look at overall, like the progression of his career, he's now into his third season, and at the tail end of his third season, I feel like, especially at the point he's at, that we should see more, especially against a team like the Packers, where, gosh, we're going to talk about the Vikings more coming up. You got a couple legit number one style receivers, and against the Packers, like you got really good players, but I feel like my expectation level going into this game was, okay, at least whoever Reek is covering, you worry about everyone else. Reek should be able to lock down whoever he is up against in this Packers receiving room.
Yeah, you would think so, especially for his reputation. I've started to hear whispers of the rumors of maybe he's not all in on football as much as maybe he should. And look, we kind of heard Pete Carroll allude to that a little bit in his last season too with Reek. And, I think part of the reason why it looks as bad as it does is just he's such a finesse player all the way around. Like, he's so afraid to get physical and dirty. Even when he does get in and on a tackle, it's like patty cakes to do it. It's so jarring to watch.
That. I could live with him being a finesse player, though, if he were doing some of the other things, like getting interceptions and leading the thing and leading the league in pass blocking. Like, Sauce Gardner is also a very finesse style cornerback. And so you can succeed in this league being that way, but I think you can't have, and he's had success as it is. I don't want to be ultimately too hard on him because he is a 5th round draft pick and they're absolutely getting more than his draft position out of him through these first 3 seasons. Like, I'm not of that opinion, like, oh, well, you got to cut him. Like, if he continues to perform like this, you just let him ride out his contract and then you move on to the next guy at the end of his 4 years. Like, I could live with him playing the way he does through one more season, but I have higher expectations because I know that the talent's there, and I want him to go and be one of those top paid guys. And I don't think he's going to get it from Seattle if he continues down this path once again through another season.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any way of that. I mean, last offseason, I would say I think I'd trade the dude. Like, I just don't think you can win with that type of player. Now, he started out this year looking a lot better and was, kind of being that ball hawking corner that we all were kind of fell in love with in his first year. And then you see the play against Christian Watson on the sideline where balls launched up. That should be an interception every single day. It was a lollipop prayer to the sideline that Watson had to slow down a tiny bit for. But Reek just panics. Like, the second that Watson kind of turns around to look for the ball and then starts to backpedal while massively misjudging the football. This is what you do for a living, is judge footballs in the air. Yeah. And you misjudged that by almost 7 yards? Like, that one was freaking excusable. That was so god awful.
After going back and watching that one, I don't have as much of a problem with that one. A lot of it had to do with the way Christian Watson ran that route. And then by the time Reek looks up to look back at it, he almost has to turn around because just the way his body positioning was, again, trying to run down the sideline with Watson, and he's got quite a bit of speed. So I think he was concerning himself with hanging with Watson first. He looks up to get the ball, and then it was so well thrown at him that I think that there was no way for him to get turned around and get into position to even make a play on the ball because it was so high, so deep, and dropped down right on the sideline that I think Watson was really playing to the spot. And it looked worse in the moment to me than I think going back and watching it and trying to diagnose and figure out exactly how Reek would have made that play. It was more some of the other plays by Reek that disturbed me than that one in particular.
Okay, well, we can talk about the other ones. I couldn't disagree more with you on that one. I really couldn't. Like, Watson had to stop and turn around to catch the football. It's not like he ran down the sideline and he was hitting stride and it was over his shoulder in a bucket where no matter what Tariq did, there was no way for him to cover that play. That's not it at all. The ball stops Watson. He turns around and has to like almost crouch down when he catches it. And because of that, all Reek would have had to have done is not panic and spin around and try to backpedal his way into coverage. If he would have continued to run, because if he's so concerned about Christian Watson getting by him, why turn around? Like, if you do that, you're more than toast. Like, you'll never catch the guy. Like, you have to stay running with the receiver. If he would have just continued running forward, like not into Watson, obviously, and getting a PI, but just ran up to like where he was
later,
at.
Was that
yeah,
Joe
exactly.
PI?
The ball would have hit him in the back of the numbers. At least it's a pass breakup instead of a big gainer on a panic play by Love, too. He just chucked it up there. That wasn't a great throw. It wasn't put in the perfect position. Like, that was so poorly played by Reek that I think I personally believe that was the worst one.
I will buy that argument if you say that he shouldn't have looked back for the ball, because as soon as he did look back to the ball, he was trying to judge it. And I think that based on the trajectory of the ball, it looked like it was going to be thrown out of bounds. And but yes, if he hadn't looked back and would have just stayed in position and done more of a face guard, then but
cover your
receiver. Made it sound like it should have been intercepted, and I don't think had he played it that way correctly, then I don't think it would have been an interception.
I think it still could have been an interception. Like there's a possibility there, but yeah, no, I'm more mad that it wasn't a pass breakup than a pick, like for sure. And then I'm triply as mad that it was a massive gainer after the rest of the defense was getting crushed too. You mentioned the other one down near the end zone, and to me, it looked like he just lost where he was on the field in relation to the receiver and had no idea what was going on.
Touchdown, and it's like, oh well, I'll get pass interference, and
yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad.
No, it wasn't great, and the touchdown that he gives up where he's trying to, I don't know if he was trying to punch the ball out, but then at the same time, gosh, Julian Love comes in and tries to make the tackle, and Love gets run over too.
Yeah. And that was kind of the story of the entire first half with the defense, right? Like, they were just out-bullied everywhere on the field. They were out-bullied on the defensive line. You had pointed out, I think, in the post game and maybe during the game in the Discord, like, defensive line was getting pushed back 3 to 5 yards every single play. Linebackers were out-physicaled. Obviously, Julian Love and the safety out-physicaled there on that play. And there's another one of the Tariq finesse plays, right? As was it Dobbs? I think it was Dobbs that was scoring there. And instead of going and making a tackle and like grabbing the dude by the legs, he kind of just like reaches out and kind of gives patty cake punches towards the ball until Julian Love gets there, and Dobbs has a full head of steam, and he gets bullied into the end zone. And then, like, I'm sure Love was sitting there being like, "What the hell, Reek? Like, come on, man."
Yeah, but I also, with Love coming in with a full head of steam, I kind of expect him to be able to make that stop too. And it speaks to being out physicaled in every aspect. So
yeah,
disappointed in a little bit of everyone on that one. The least disappointing touchdown was the Dobbs touchdown, where he made an incredible play in the back of the end zone. Like, that was just a great catch. And
there you go. Yeah, no, and see, there you go. Like, on that one, it's like, yeah, I'm not mad. Like, that was a fantastic play by the Packers offense. Like, hat tip, very, very well done. That I can't get too mad over that stuff, right? Because they get paid too. Yeah.
Okay, explain this to me, Adam.
Okay,
Sam Howell, 5 of 14, 24 yards passing. Zach Charbonnet, in one run, ran for 24 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And we still passed the ball 14 times with Howell, and Charbonnet had 8 total carries on the day.
Yeah, and like 3 for Kenny Mack too. Like
3 for Kenny Mack, 3 for Halani late in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, those are garbage carries. I don't care. 11 carries for your primary backs in the game. And then not only that, down 10 and Sam Howell comes into the game, which don't get me wrong, I had absolutely negative 5,000% faith that Sam Howell was going to do anything good there. But yeah, why not put the guy who's an absolute chucker and a slow processor and behind an offensive line that is now rattled and shell shocked? We'll just do drop back passing some more and let Sam Howell disintegrate back there. Did Sam Howell make a pass at Ryan Grubb's wife? Like, if you want me to explain it, like, that's the only thing I can figure is, like, he made a pass at Ryan Grubb's wife. He got mad and was like, well, here you go. Now you can die on the field, Sam Howell. You're welcome.
Let's see if we can get to Jaron Hall as our emergency quarterback. Let's just see.
Yeah.
It was very strange. And even after the game, the explanation was, well, we went with some of the passes that we thought that Sam could handle well. Like, well, why? Again, why aren't we trying to run the ball more with our backup quarterback? And especially when it looks so much worse when you put those two things side by side, that Charbonnet had one run that got as many yards as Sam Howell did during his entire passing offense.
Yeah, and it was on the pulling guard and tackle stuff, the sweep to the edge, and it looked good. Sharps averaged 6.8 yards per carry, and well, we didn't get to the run because we were down 13. Yeah, but when Sharps was running, it was only the first quarter, and like when Sharps was running, it was good. He was at 6.8. Well, I mean, we just had to get to the stuff that Sam does well. You're telling me Sam can't hand the fall off well? Like, that's not in his skill set? He can't turn around and go, here you go, do cool stuff so I don't have to? That's out of Sam's skill set? Come on.
Or even a throw to Zach. I mean, he had the one catch for 12 yards from Geno right before Geno ended up going out in the third quarter. Like, you're telling me that he can't just throw little dump off passes to Charbonnet too?
Well, I might almost tell you that Sam Howell can't throw little dump off passes because that's not who he is in his NFL DNA. I mean, when he was with the Commanders, it was, chuck it down the field and take high risk throws. If that's not there, then I'm going to run himself personally. And that just, it's not winning NFL football. And he is such a slow football processor that he'll get locked on as one receiver, start to frazzle out, and then decide he's going to run. Like, what dump off is he going to get to, like, through a progression if he can't process past read one? Like, he's never going to get to it, let alone he's not very accurate at throwing it.
Right. Yeah, it was
Sam Howell sucks.
Well, I mean, we kind of knew that. And
are we using the royal we, or just me and you, or like, what are we thinking here? Because as a fan base, I'm not sure we knew that, all of us together.
I mean, all you had to do was watch him at Washington, and the reason why he led the league in attempts was because they attempted a lot of passes last year. So that's kind of de facto how, he ended up putting a lot of numbers last year just based on that fact that Eric Bieniemy ran an offense in Washington that was a lot like this offense that we're seeing in Seattle, where we're just going to pass the ball 70 to 75% of the time.
And now Eric Bieniemy barely has a job in college.
He doesn't have a job in college. He actually, they had a mutual parting of ways from the college that he coached at.
Unreal.
This year too.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, Ryan Grubb should take notes.
Well, we hope that he's taking some notes going into this game up against the Minnesota Vikings, Adam, because this Vikings team, if you thought that we had a decent chance against the Packers, which going into that game, I think we all did. We thought that this was a Packers team that had some vulnerabilities and I think that's kind of the biggest disappointment coming out of that is the realization that, okay, if we thought we had a chance there and we got blown out on our home field by the Packers, what chance do we have then going down the stretch against a team that's only lost 2 games, one being against the Rams, where they got the gift of a face mask call at the end of the game that allowed them to avoid any type of comeback by Sam Darnold at the end of that game. And the other team that they lost to was the freaking Detroit Lions. So those are your 2 losses from our next home team matchup in the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so angry today in comparison to the post game. I feel like I'm riding a opposite journey of, say, like Hawk Blogger, who was just livid directly after the game, and then seems to have kind of like come down from it.
That
and
realization,
I feel
like the offensive coordinator is the problem. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like we were there at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, right, exactly. And yeah, we did look at this Packers game, and it was like, okay, measuring stick game. If they can look, and if they were just competitive, I wouldn't have been this upset. I've been like, oh, sweet, they like did some things. Ryan stuck to the game plan. Defense, it hung in there. Maybe a bad call, maybe just 2 bad plays that were really on you, but hey, that's correctable. Like, hey, we're right in this. We can be in that team. You come away from that game and you go, oh, that's another league. Like we should be relegated. Like in comparison to that, it's hard to stomach. And then you look at this Vikings team, and if you're looking for weaknesses, they give up passing yards,
but they also give up. Actually, in the last 3 to 4 games, they're actually one of the top 6 worst rushing yards allowed teams, which I wish that we could exploit, but we probably won't, because I do think that this Vikings defense, especially in the interior, is a team that you could run against. And that's how
the league says otherwise. I mean, they're number 2 in rushing yards on defense
for the year, but I mean the last 4 games. The last 4 games has been a different story.
Sure,
and I think early on in the season it was more that they were having a lot more success passing against the Vikings defense, that teams just didn't run as much.
I guess they haven't given up very many rushing touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to do here as Seahawks fans is look at this and be like, well, maybe they're actually not good at run defense. And it's like, well, if you take their full body of work, they are. And again,
they're on 4th down. Like if we're in 4th and 1 situations where they have to try and get 1 yard against this Vikings defense, forget about it. Like,
don't try.
They're the best. They're the best in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
And the stupid Bears tried it multiple times and failed. Like, why would you do that? I mean, other than you're trying to win, you're down quite a bit. But in the 3rd quarter, they were within range, and I feel like they shot themselves in the foot more than by going for it in a couple of those situations than actually helping themselves.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings owned them on 4th and short in the game. And look, I'm not even all that worried about whether or not we'll go for it on 4th. After Mike McDonald's balls shriveled up inside of his body late in the game against the Packers and didn't go for it there, and then gave what I believe is the lamest reasoning I could have heard from him about why he didn't do it. Well, 7 minutes or 4 minutes, and then it's like 2 scores, and like the defense have been okay. Like, no, you're getting crushed all game. You need to take a risk. Go for it.
But not too risky. Not Dan Campbell try an onside kick with 12 minutes to go in the 4th quarter kind of risky. Like, let's not get crazy.
No,
this is just normal go for it on 4th down type crazy.
Yeah, let's just not get Pete Carroll go for it on 4th down uncrazy. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Look, their Vikings defense is really good. They've been a good team in terms of points per game all year. Flores is a high-pressure attacking style defensive coordinator. That terrifies me when it comes to, I'm seeing Ryan Grubb go, if there's a team that's like even mildly prone to giving up pass yards, he's like, oh, that all day. That's all I'm going to do. And that's the Vikings. So if they just do that and then park Geno in one spot, which maybe now you have to do because you got him killed last game and he got his knee hurt and maybe isn't quite as mobile. Now you got to stick him right there in the drop back passing game against a Flores high pressure package, bringing blitzes, lots of cover zero, that sort of defense, and an offensive line that struggles in that situation. Just good night.
They bring a lot of pressure, especially off the edge. And if you haven't seen Jonathan Grenard this year, the dude is tearing up opposing defenses. And a guy that was available in free agency, they went out and got him from Houston. And they got Jonathan Bullard over on the other side. But Grenard, man, he's been tearing it up. Blake Crashman, good linebacker. And their corners, Byron Murphy, their rookie, he's been no, not rookie. They got him from Arizona. He's actually playing well.
Oh, is that Byron Murphy? Okay,
it's that Byron Murphy. I was thinking it was. There's another. Is it the Rams? It might be. Is it Byron Murphy or Brian Murphy? Anyway, I'm getting them confused. But yeah, it's Arizona, Byron Murphy, and a familiar name too on the opposite side was Shaq Griffin. And plus, it sounds like they might have Stephon Gilmore back this week.
Right. And, Harrison Smith. The safety, 22.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, not maybe the same elite type safety that he'd been earlier in his career, but still playing solid football, smart guy. And Brian Flores has been really good at his job this year, and he's going up against an offensive coordinator who has been the exact definition of putrid. And then when they get destroyed by the Vikings here, do we then point to Coach Mike again and be like, look, he can't do it against primetime coaches. Can't do it against the good coaches. Is that what we do as a fan base?
I mean, the narrative would continue to play out because Kevin O'Connell is a really good head coach and may even end up being coach of the year this year for the Vikings.
I think he might be. I think there's a legit case to be made that right now in this league, the Vikings are the best team in football.
I think they're the most well-rounded team, especially when you look at just how injured. Well, and well-rounded includes coaching, which I don't think I can say as great of a coach as Dan Campbell is, and the identity that he's built for that Lions team, they live and die by him. But at Kevin O'Connell is like a guy who seems to make all the right decisions in the right moments. And it's that kind of well-roundedness that, okay, maybe their quarterback isn't the most elite, but he designs plays that gets guys open. They have so many different offensive weapons with Justin Jefferson, who he's the guy who you've got to make sure and slow down. But then there's Jordan Addison, and if you got Jordan Addison covered, TJ Hawkinson
he's
is their tight end.
Yeah,
it seems to always be the guy that Sam Darnold can go to in big moments, and I don't know if we would have an answer for on defense at all. So, and then mix into the fact that Aaron Jones is great at running the football.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
He's about to crack 1,000. Yeah, he's about to crack 1,000. He's been a fantastic pickup for the Vikings. Somehow both the Vikings and the Packers won by, Packers running back over to the Vikings, and then the Vikings snagging Josh Jacobs. It's just extra annoying. You watch KOC's offense, and again, it can't be more opposite than Ryan Grubb. All of the different things that they get to in terms of formations, under center quite a bit. 80% of Aaron Jones's runs come from under center because he knows how to run a freaking football in terms of the offensive coordinator and head coach and KOC. And you mentioned the weapons, dude. Justin Jefferson, probably the best receiver in football. All the attention he gets. Then, Jordan Addison being damn good. And then I remember Hawkinson with the Lions, tearing us apart at times. I mean, I can still see it in my nightmares. He's damn good. This is the offense that we thought we were getting this year with Tyler, JSN, DK, maybe a little bit more out of Noah Fant, and then the explosive Ken Walker, and a quarterback that was given up on by the rest of the league having a renaissance that is maybe MVP level in Geno, which is what they're getting from Sam Darnold. If you don't think KOC, and I'm not saying you, but just like the world, if anybody out there doesn't think he's one of the best head coaches in the league, he got the couple almost MVP seasons out of freaking Kirk Cousins, who is now benched for Michael Penix, and now he's taken Sam Darnold, who was seeing literal ghosts not but a couple years ago and couldn't beat out Brock Purdy, and making him look like, I don't even know what the comp is. Like, he's playing lights out. He's mobile. The arm strength is there. The accuracy's there. He had one dumb pick last game, but overall he's taking care of the football. That's KOC, man. That's KOC. This offense is, LaFleur does a fantastic job in Green Bay. KOC's doing a better job right now in Minnesota. I'm not even sure how.
I know how. It's when he has all these different weapons and he's finding ways to use them and keeping defenses on their heels. And when they think they have something figured out, he's got a different answer for it. So that's what a good offensive coach is able to do. It sounds like we're getting to the point to where there's not a lot of hope in this game. I have one area of hope. I mentioned the yards thing in the run game, like that was kind of fantasy hope. This is more like I think that there might be something to this, Adam. The Minnesota Vikings, they have the most difficult strength of schedule to finish these final 3 games. And part of it is because after the Seahawks, they play the Packers, and then they close the season against the Detroit Lions. So they have 2 really difficult games against divisional opponents after the Seahawks game. We are in trap game position. Like,
big time.
Our Seahawks can be the trap team.
Dude, you're right. You're right. I mean, literally, when you're looking at this on paper, the Seahawks don't have a puncher's chance almost. I mean, it just seems like, you're going to be totally outclassed here. And really, the only thing you're kind of holding on to is that if the Vikings just do overlook the Seahawks and are like focused on the Packers and the Lions to try not only to win the division, but then to hopefully get the number 1 seed in their eyes, because that's what they're gunning for. So yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I do want to address one thing though, like with the Packers game and now this Vikings game. I think we're even guilty of it with one of the titles Clinton put on a video about, season being over and all that stuff. Like, it's just legit not true. And it's unbelievably annoying. Look, even if they lose to the Vikings, the season is not over. The season is not over. The Rams still have to play football. We still get to play them the last week of the year. There's a chance the Commanders, go into a tailspin here towards the end of the year, and that wild card spot is still open and the Seahawks get there. Like, the idea that game against the Packers, they lost it, blow up the team. Coach Mike doesn't have it against primetime coaches. Get rid of Reek, get rid of DK, get rid of Geno. The whole thing, like, blow it up because we're perpetually mid and we're never going anywhere and this season's over. Just stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah, I think that the season over title that Clinton used was in bold italic sarcasm font. Because Clinton would never admit that, for one. And
no,
two, I think he argued against it in that very same show.
No, I get it. Yeah.
This was a successful season and is a successful season. Like,
100%.
apart from the offensive coordinator thing and maybe we get,
and who could have seen that coming?
I don't know. It's almost like we talked about it a lot in the offseason. But if we were to give the benefit of the doubt to Coach Mike and John Schneider, who assembled the coaching staff, maybe Ryan Grubb wasn't their first choice, and they found themselves in a position where they were trying to make something, see if something could and would work, and tried and failed, and maybe they can fix that in the offseason. But despite all that, still having 8 wins, I still think we absolutely get to 9 wins, because there's in no way should we lose to the Chicago Bears in the coming weeks, and maybe we even get that win over the Rams. Like, when we had the argument on the last show we did together about whether it was more likely of going 1-3 versus 3-1 down the stretch. I think we made that argument with the idea that we kind of both thought we were going 2-2 down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so.
And so it was more of the what's more likely side of that. I feel like maybe you would revise your answer now after what we saw this past week.
Yeah. Yeah. Without question. I guess maybe the reason why I'm so stinking mad today is that I really, after the second Cards game and just kind of seeing like formationally Grubb doing some stuff that like, I don't know, made NFL football sense at all. I was like, whoa, maybe this guy gets it. And then Ryan Grubb comes out. I was like, no, hold my beer. Watch this nonsense, dummy.
Well, what makes me, the fact that you bring up the Cardinals, what makes me mad is that essentially we are what we thought Cardinals fans were going
100%.
into that first matchup against us, where they're riding high after having a couple of wins. And they're like, oh, yeah, look at us near the top of the division. We're going to win this thing. And you and I were saying, you aren't a real football team, Arizona Cardinals. Like, call me when you actually show up as a real football team. And we kind of took on that same persona after 4 wins, and we're like, oh yeah, we can beat the Packers. Of course we can. Look at what this team has done over the last 4 weeks. Like, we're on the upswing. And then just to get hammered down in that same way that we hammered down the Arizona Cardinals, like, oh man, I feel dumb.
Okay, well, I will put some caveats on that and make the distinction between us and the other two,
better, please.
The other two Cardinals fans out there in the world that were on every message board. Like their thing was, we are going to beat you. We're in the driver's seat for this division. We are way better than you. Blah blah blah. You and I, Brandon, when we were talking about the Packers, was like, well, if we get this sort of offensive performance that we've had one game of, with the defense looking pretty real, like we got a shot. We got a shot to beat these Packers. We could be in this conversation. This is a measuring stick game. We will see if they are viable in terms of competing with these upper echelon teams. We weren't around like, you know, again, the 3 delusional Cardinals fans that were high on ayahuasca that they found out in the desert, saying that they were way better. They were running away with the division, and Kyler was an MVP candidate or something.
Okay, that's a good point. I doubt that there were as many Seahawks fans as there were Cardinals fans who were going into Packers message boards and talking about just how much that they were going to wipe the floor, how much our team was going to wipe the floor with the Packers. So, okay, yeah, we were not that delusional. That's a good point.
No. Plus, you know, Pacific Northwesterners, you know, like it's a little bit of the self-loathing kind of thought process, kind of like, are we real? I don't know, you know, kind of, maybe. And even if you are going to take a shot in a message board, it's going to be passive aggressive.
That's what we are. We just have to own it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, hopefully the Vikings are reading their press clippings going into this game against the Seahawks, thinking about how great they've been since they got that win over the Rams, continuing to be dominant, and they overlook us a little bit. So that way we got the upper hand. Our fans come to play. There can't be that many Minnesota fans that they start doing skull chants at Lumen Field, can there?
It might be in range.
All right. Well,
I know. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying, especially after last week. Why? Again, you brought this up, and you were great about it, and I think you're 100% right. Why would the 12s be really fired up to go and watch this team at home this year? Why? What reason has the team given us?
The Broncos win on opening day.
Okay.
You asked me a question. That was the best answer.
Exactly. I think you answered it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's close it off strong. Let's close it off strong against this Vikings team. Let's see our Seahawks get a win at home, close off our home schedule with a win over these stupid Vikings.
Absolutely, man. If they do somehow figure it out, it's going to be a massive win in terms of the playoff ramifications. So who knows, man?
Well, We can talk a little bit more about those playoff ramifications coming up next. As we get into the second half of the show, if you're looking for some more Seahawks content, especially on the audio side, hey, if you're right here at youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, you get all the shows right there. If you want the audio shows, though, if you're an audio listener, be sure you subscribe to For the Hawkra. And we've got Clinton Bonner there, Phil Leidick, Wilson Kahn. We've got a slate of shows there that we're all involved with, Adam and I. And so, yeah, if you want some more audio content, check out For the Hawker, man.
Yeah, lots of good stuff there. Unlike, I don't know, a play call near the goal line where we end up turning the ball over. Like, not good content. That's what that was.
No, we touched on that, though, in the first half, the interception by Geno. And we talked about how it's a little bit Geno's fault, a little bit Grubb's fault. How do you break that out in terms of percentage-wise as to who is more to blame for Geno throwing that pick? And, you could even throw the offensive line in there, too. Geno has had his history of red zone interceptions, and against the Packers, he was trying to get it to Noah Fant in the back of the end zone, chucks it up, and Valentine for the Packers was there to come away with the pick. But I think part of the reason why Valentine was in that area was due to the play design by Ryan Grubb.
Yeah. And the fact that, okay, so if we're going to break it out into percentages, I'm going to take one thing off the table here real quick. Packers brought 6 on that play.
Yes.
They blitzed. They brought 6 dudes. I counted. They brought 6 dudes. So the offensive line giving Geno just a shot to get the ball off there. That's a decent job. That's a decent job. I'm not, so 0.5% on the offensive line, 0.5. Now, okay, Geno's percentage in that play. What was the correct decision? Like if, with the way that the play played out and everything, what was the correct play for Geno Smith there?
To throw it out of bounds or take the sack.
Yeah. Those are the only 2 correct options. So the only options that Geno had to quote unquote succeed was to fail. That's right. that was the option. Those are the 2 best options.
And he failed in the worst way.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, all right, let me give you 3 ways to fail, 0 ways to succeed, and we're going to be mad at you when you fail the hardest out of the 3. So I put 4%. So that's 4.5% on anybody not named Ryan Grubb.
Yeah.
Okay. Like it's 95.5% on Ryan Grubb. That play is so dumb. It's so dumb on a number of levels. One, prior to that, 2nd and 9, they run a very similar play, and JSN ends up running a whip route where he does come open, but then Geno kind of tries to force it. I think it was to Tyler on that one, and damn near throws the pick. So now you're in 3rd and 9 instead of 2nd and shorter, or 3rd and shorter and 9. Like you couldn't get to there. No, we had to throw an incomplete pass there. And then they run this play when Quay Walker had just gone out with injury 2 plays prior, and you haven't challenged that dude. I think it's 45 that they brought in. They haven't challenged that dude at all. And then in that situation in 3rd and 9, not only do they not try to challenge that middle linebacker, but they get the good freaking fortune that the middle linebacker blitzes, leaving the entire middle of the field wide freaking open. And we've got Fant from the slot running a corner fade basically, or an over route, like to the end zone. You got Tyler, who is getting played with inside leverage by the DB. So I don't know if he's supposed to go outside there and run an out route, or if that's called. Okay, fine. Tyler runs into the same freaking area as Noah Fant. And then you have JSN, who comes from the outside, runs a whip route right back underneath Tyler, too. So now you've got 3 defenders within a 10 vertical yard radius of where Geno needs to throw the football. So you take the condensed area of the red zone and you smash it down like you do with an atom collider until you get a nuclear bomb called a red zone interception. It is so stupid. It's so freaking stupid.
Not to mention, look, DK Metcalf was on the complete opposite side of the field. I think he had a one-on-one matchup. Like if the play was designed, wasn't he? Was he one-on-one, or did he have another defender over there?
I mean, the safety they were playing too deep, but the safety didn't seem to pay attention to the idea that he was one-on-one on the backside.
If the play was to overload that left side for the opportunity to get DK one-on-one on the right side, then that play maybe makes sense. I just want to
add one quick thing. But then the play, like the best option out of that play and like what you're designing up is at best a 50-50 ball in the end zone.
Right. But great. That makes more sense than what we got.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to find ways to where this play would have at least had an opportunity to succeed. And at 50% is, I think, one of the better options than what we were left with. Another option would be that if either Tyler or JSN's route led them toward the middle of the field, then either Tyler can flatten out his route toward the sideline. And yeah, he's not going to get in the end zone probably with Valentine covering him, but they might get a few yards as at least then Fant has more of a one-on-one opportunity in the end zone on the guy who was covering him. And then you have somebody who is actually attacking the middle of the field. The fact that there was nobody in the middle of the field, it makes me wonder if Tyler ran the wrong route, which if I had to decide between veteran Tyler Lockett knowing where to be on a particular play and Ryan Grubb designing a bad play, I'm going to take Tyler's side.
Yep.
And if, maybe JSN wasn't supposed to do the whip route thing, or if he were to ultimately end up in the middle of the field, then it's developing way too long for the amount of time that Geno had in the pocket.
Well, this is where I think Noah Fant ran where he was supposed to go. I don't think you give option routes to Noah Fant. Noah Fant goes where Noah Fant's told to go. I think Tyler Lockett knows where to go. And just like you said, he probably went exactly where he was told to go because he's a professional and he knows what the hell to do, unlike our offensive coordinator. That leaves JSN's route as the only one I can look at and go, that might have been an option route. And only because whip routes do tend to come out of that option route tree that basically think of Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman type stuff, right? Like they get into that, 4 yards off the line of scrimmage thing. And then based on whatever is going on with the play, they make a decision. That's the one I would guess ended up going outside that maybe it wasn't supposed to, because if JSN just continues to run, even though the corner started the play with inside leverage, he would have crossed his face in a quick enough time for Geno to be able to get the ball to him there. And then as far as like ascribing blame again, back to that with Geno. So if you watch, they bring 6. Geno has 1,000 that fast to make the decision. 1,000. Like you decide, like as a human being, just sit there and watch the play and go, how am I supposed to come up with a better decision than what Geno made? Because Noah does beat his dude. He does. He's open. If Tyler isn't there with his defender, then that's probably a touchdown. He put the ball right where it was supposed to be in that sense. And I think Geno, in that 1,000 said, well, catfish. Like, hopefully that dude stays with Tyler and threw the ball.
Yeah. Because the other thing is, if you have a play that's designed to actually have a dude in the middle of the field, Geno hits that, whoever that receiver is, and it's probably a touchdown because of the blitz, then whoever catches it over the middle has to beat the safeties. And in 9 yards, I like the chances that they're going to be able to make a guy miss and get in the end zone.
You bet. And it's at the very least a first down. And you've attacked the new dude on the field who probably isn't as good in coverage because, he's a backup.
Right.
And that's what you do as an NFL
him on the
OC.
blitz.
And then, yeah, and like I said, and then they got the good fortune. Like, Ryan Grubb's doing his job there and attacking that guy. Not only did you do your job and make the right decision, but then the Packers compounded it just luckily by bringing the guy on the blitz. So that honestly, after going back and watching that play about 22 times from the all 22, like, and just being like, well, how in the world could that? Oh, well, no, Tyler couldn't have just gone there on it. Oh, well, it must be Oh, was Geno must have just missed. Oh, that was the dumbest thing.
It's so funny because we had no discussion about this play, but both of us, after doing the post-game show, we were doing the same thing and trying to figure out just exactly why Valentine was in the position that he was to intercept that pass. And we couldn't come up with a good answer as to if there would have been a player on the field who made a mistake that allowed that to happen.
For sure. And here's the other thing. Like, I know it's easy, like, as an armchair quarterback and days later and all that, to look at this stuff and be like, oh, yeah, they should have done this or they should have done that. But I think this is a great example of exactly what Bears fans were going through with the Waldron experience a little bit earlier this season. And they go back and they look at the tape and they'd be like, what is this nonsense? So, like, I know a lot of fans are like, oh, it can't be that bad. Somebody had to have screwed up on the field or whatever. Like, the OC can't possibly be that stupid. Well, I can tell you, we saw it in real time in Seattle last year, and now we just saw it in real time in Chicago, to where Shane Waldron got fired. There are OCs that are literally this catfish kingdom, and we have one.
Oh, it's not fun. It's
this
almost...
team's a playoff team with any dude with NFL experience. Like, they should have hired in the first place. You said earlier in the episode, like, well, maybe it wasn't their first choice, and so they were trying something. It was like, you have the rookie head coach with a defensive background, a defensive mentor over top of him, Leslie Frazier, and you don't bring in a dude with experience on the offensive side to run the entire half of football. Like, people are begging on John Schneider in terms of, like, the offensive line stuff, and I get it. Like, he has screwed up there. Now, should he be fired just because the one position group out of everything hasn't been good for him? I don't think so. He's done a good job everywhere else for the most part. But this one, this hiring, this is one of them that I look at and go, this might be a fireable offense.
It was a collaborative decision, though, on that one, I feel like. And maybe personality-wise, it just felt like it was going to work because we said the same thing. Like, very cool dude, had success at the college level to the point where you go, okay, maybe this can work. Maybe they found the one guy that can make that transition and have success. But it's not working out that way. I don't understand all of this conversation from this past week around Sam Darnold, Adam, because I feel like Sam Darnold is still the Vikings quarterback. It's like they got through the conversation of should Sam Darnold continue to be the Vikings quarterback next year, and that they moved on to saying that, well, now we have to find a team for Sam Darnold to go to if he's not with the Vikings. And because I hear a lot of talk of, the Seahawks should get Sam Darnold next year. And we hinted at this a little bit, I think, on a previous show. But now I'm starting to hear more of it, and it's I don't understand what's driving it. If it's his agent who is just making up all these conversations as we get toward the playoffs, it's like, Sam Darnold could be MVP. Sam Darnold could be a Super Bowl champion of the Vikings. The Vikings could decide not to bring him back because they have a first-round draft pick that's waiting on the bench that they need to get to. How is this that hard that if the Vikings are this good of a team with Sam Darnold at quarterback, one, how do they not re-sign the guy next year? And if they decide to move on from Sam Darnold, do you want to be the team that, if they're saying no, that they had this amazing season where going into the last 3 games that they've only lost 2 games to the Lions and the Rams, and that was the middle of the season, then they went on this run? And they're going to say, oh, no, we're good with J.J. McCarthy. Like, why would you be the team that goes, we'll pay Sam Darnold $50 million a year? Don't be that team.
Because NFL GMs are quarterback stupid. Like, they are. We've talked about it year after year after year. So a couple things with this. One, I think you hit on like the most important factor here. Everybody acts like the Vikings have some Sophie's choice between J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. And the problem with that is that that's false. It's totally untrue. They can sign Sam Darnold, make sure that, and see that it's really, he can be this good with KOC and he's the guy you want, quote unquote, going forward, because, he's 27, so he's really young. It's totally fine. You can invest all the money in that guy after one good season. They have J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract. He's coming off a second knee surgery, and why not have him sit for another year where he actually can practice behind Sam Darnold and all that? They don't have to trade J.J. McCarthy. They can just sign Sam Darnold, and they don't have to sign him to 10 years. I bet they can get him for a 2-3 year deal and probably make it so it's team friendly.
That's what the franchise tag's for.
There you go. Great point. There's no Sophie choice. There's a 3% chance Sam Darnold will be available to any other team than the Minnesota Vikings next year. So with that in mind, I have a question for all of the people out there being like, well, get rid of Geno and bring in Sam, because they're a real bright bunch. Put Geno Smith behind that Minnesota Vikings offense, at the controls of that, with that offensive coach, not with a dumpster fire offensive coach, like a rolling, flaming, nuclear bomb dumpster fire offensive coordinator. Take him away from that and put him with maybe the best offensive coach in the entire league, with some of the best weapons in the entire league. Do you think, Brandon, it is more likely or less likely that Geno Smith has a Sam Darnold type performance, or this level of Geno Smith performance?
Yeah, and maybe he doesn't have the same type of Sam Darnold performance, but it looks an awful lot like it. And yeah, it
would be on par with it, right?
I wonder if even a guy, okay, because what you're asking for is the strategy that teams are starting to employ, that if they can't draft the quarterback, you find the quarterback that didn't have success in maybe bad situations, and you take them off the scrap heap and you put them in a better situation and see if they can have success. And so the trick is not to find the guy. It's not to pay the guy who has had success in a really good situation. It's to go out and find the scrap heap guy. Like, go out and find the Mac Jones guy, or the whatever guy who is kind of in that, a lot of talent, but
Trevor Lawrence is going to be that guy one of these days.
Trevor Lawrence could be that guy. So the trick is to find that guy at the right moment. Like, the Seahawks had that opportunity when they had the choice between essentially Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith. They went with Geno Smith, and maybe they have success either way. Maybe they have more long-term success with a guy like Baker Mayfield because he is younger. But that's the point that you're at. It's not like, oh, well, should the Seahawks, if the Niners decide to pass on giving Brock Purdy a big contract, you go out and give him $50 million.
Exactly. And the other point to this is, too, like, if you can't separate situation from the guy's play, like, and understand what that has, sort of impact that has on these quarterbacks, then you're going to get it wrong every single time. Because I'll tell you right now, swapping Geno for Sam Darnold is a lateral move. I'm not trying to crap on Sam Darnold. Like, I think he's proven, like, hey, in a non-dysfunctional situation, much like Geno, this guy can be a real deal quarterback in this league. Good for him. I'm happy for him. But I promise you take Sam Darnold and you throw him into this situation with that dumbass as the offensive coordinator, with that offensive line, he's going to look as bad as Geno, if not worse. That's not a fix.
And I wonder if the offensive line the offensive can look better with a different offensive coordinator. So part of the reason why the offensive line looks as bad as it does is because they're being put into bad positions. The other part is there's a lot of injuries. The other part is they haven't developed offensive line well. It does come down to, and I understand the point of view of we need or we want a better quarterback. Like, Absolutely.
Cool.
Like any team that doesn't have a top 5 quarterback is in that mindset of we want, as a fan base, a better quarterback. The problem is if you don't fix some of those other issues, if you give a young quarterback a bad offensive line, it's not going to work. If you give a young quarterback a bad offensive coordinator, it's not going to work. You got to fix those 2 areas before you get to the point to where you're going to have success either with a young quarterback or a veteran quarterback if you're doing the scrap heap hunting situation.
You're 100% right, because those are the fundamentals, and that's where you have to start. And also, too, like, well, we want a better quarterback than Geno Smith. Okay, cool. Which dude is available?
Right.
Because from what I'm hearing, I haven't done the deep dive on college quarterbacks yet, but sounds like the best quarterback in this draft class could be Kenny Pickett again.
Yeah. The 2 guys who are going to be drafted in the first round are going to be Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, most likely.
Oh, okay. See, again, haven't watched him yet, so I don't know if.
But I don't know if they're better than Kenny Pickett.
Oh boy.
So,
okay, that's an interesting data point. I try to keep all that noise out as much as possible before I watch these guys, just so I can form my own opinion. But I
haven't watched a lot either. It's just that it's going to require, I think, a special kind of offense to make it work initially. Yeah. So, and I don't think that our team's going to be in position to be able to pick that high to take either of those guys. So there's a couple of the guys that I was looking at as potentially being middle to late round quarterbacks ended up declaring that they're going back to college next year. So,
oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. And then, so, what veteran are you going to go out and get that's better than Geno Smith? Like, I get see that's the other half of the crazy juice of this situation is
the reason why the Sam Darnold conversation is happening is not necessarily better, but younger.
It's age obsession. Like, long term in the NFL is 3 years. That is long freaking term. That's how fast this league changes. Think about what the league looked like 3 years ago and what it looks like today. Like, it changes on a dime. Like, the idea that Geno can't go another 3 years and look like this kind of Geno, or even a much better Geno, if given just the simplest things to succeed at quarterback and the most fundamental things, like, I find insane. Like, we're in a 3-year, Mike's in a 3-year window. Ryan Grubb is now in a 3-month window. Like, it's just.
He might be in a 3-day window.
Might be in a 3-day window. The point being is like this fixation of, well, you got to have a guy for 15 years. When does that happen? How many people get that in their football lives? Right. It's so rare. Like, you're looking for unicorns instead of, anything that makes any kind of practical sense that you can actually accomplish.
Well, and Geno can be that bridge quarterback for a year or 2 years till you get to that point to where you actually need to, or at least get close. I'm just as disappointed as any other Seahawks fan as to why they didn't draft a quarterback. Why did we have to trade picks for Sam Howell when we could have used picks that were in that area to take a guy like Jordan Travis and have him sit on the bench behind Geno Smith this year?
Tell me all about it. Yeah, I think that one's going to be a major whiff. I'm really curious to see what happens with Jordan Travis next year, having his red shirt out of the way, getting the Aaron Rodgers stank off of that entire organization there in New York. I think that's one that we're all going to look at and be like, how did we not give a swing of the bat at that guy for a much lower pick than a third that we traded for Sam Howell, who the GM finally says when they ask him about him being a quarterback, he's like, well, he's a heck of a football player.
Yeah.
Like, not a quarterback, a football player.
Even if you were going to do it that way, seeing what Justin Fields went to the Steelers for, like, what was it, a 6th?
Bubblegum wrapper?
You could have had a guy like Fields. I would have Fields and Travis, and at Geno? Like that would have looked so much better throughout the season than Geno and Howell and Jaron Hall.
Yes. I'm kind of out on Fields, but
I'm out on Fields too, but I think as a backup quarterback, like I think
you
could
do
more things with Fields as a backup than you can with Sam Howell.
Well, I mean, if you believe in running the football, then yes, you could.
That's crazy. Nobody believes in that.
I get last thing, and we can move on because I know this is beating a dead horse.
The Grubb stuff has gotten over the top at this point, yes.
But like just the finally listening to all the announcers and talking faces and all that, finally catch up to the idea that, oh, look, the successful teams are running the football more. Like the fact that they're finally catching up to that, and then still having ROC like not get like that, the struggle bus, like he couldn't even find the struggle bus to like go and find that thought. Like he's so far behind the bell curve, like it's depressing. When we've been talking about this for freaking years, Brandon. Years.
And it's not even that we've been talking about it. It's that his boss is talking about it.
I know. Okay,
but
I'm done.
Our bosses know what's up. There are supporters and producers and our members of the flock who went to getintheflock.com. They're helping to support the show. They're part of the reasons why that even in a day where we're out to a 2-touchdown deficit in the first quarter, that it made it fun to watch football in the Discord, following along with the game. We were, as we were all in it together. We'll just say that.
100%. And, we talk a lot about getting in the flock and doing a lot of things. And look, I understand that costs money and that's tough for people and all of that. But literally this is going to sound like for $1 a week, you can feed 3 children in Africa. But for $3 a month, 1 latte a month, you can get in the Discord and be amongst these amazing little flockers. And when we're all suffering from the forlorn that just casts over us like a pail during the first half of that game, you've got these amazing people to chat about the game with, have a bunch of good jokes. So it not only just helps the show, but it helps out your game day experience too, man. Getintheflock.com. Come join us on the Discord and Patreon. $3 a month. I mean, pretty much if you don't live in a shopping cart, you can afford it.
And if you just are waiting, if you're in that freeloader status and you're like, I just want to give it a little bit more time, you can go to getintheflock.com, join as a free member, and you get to add a little bit to that grace period. We'll give you a few more months.
That's right, man. And because
I said 6 last show, I'm cutting it to 5. There's going to be a time continuing on this week to week. I can't give you 6 forever.
Yeah, buy high, people. Buy high. This is the time. And by buy high, I mean do it for free.
We'd like to thank our executive producers, DCH, Ryan Peterson, JC Schilling in the 313th, also Jake Burdine and Brian Shaw, and a welcome to the flock to Jackson, who is in at $5 a month. This might be Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe not, because he spells it with an S. Jackson Smith and Jigba doesn't have the S. I have learned that through very much trial and error and looking at football cards.
Right. There you go. Hey, I'm going to pretend it's JSN. And if it's not, and he's our own JSN, then I'll take it. High level 1B, maybe, the highest level number 2s. We got Jackson in at $5 a month to be that guy for us. I like our future, especially with you running the show, Brandon. Like, I think you'll call the right place for him.
Thank you. Yeah. Jackson, future Hall of Famer on the field. Jackson, member of the flock, future executive producer. Who knows?
You never know. I'm not going to put a cap on his potential.
No. Also, Tim getting in the flock at $36. See, Tim knows, hey, if you don't want to do the $3 a month from month to month, you just go in one time during the year. You take the $36 hit. Hey, I'm in the flock for the whole year for $36. That's like, a gift to us around Christmas. So thank you for the holiday gift, Tim. Welcome to the flock.
Welcome to the flock, man.
Also, thanks to our Pick'em members, Adam. Talking about Pick'em, Nate Sheets, 14 picks correct, along with 5 others, but Nathan got the score tiebreaker. The impressive thing that Nathan did in the Pick'em League, he picked San Fran on Thursday night. He got that pick wrong. And then rest of his picks, absolutely correct.
That's awesome, man. And
that's a solid week.
That's a solid week. I'm impressed. You know what else I'm impressed by, Brandon? So we drove through San Fran today on our little mill journey, across the Golden Gate and all that. And called Brittany later. She used to live in San Fran. And, told her we were in San Fran. And she let me know that for San Fransians, for it to be called San Fran is like nails on a chalkboard to them.
Oh.
And they really don't like it. So for you to call that town in the Bay Area San Fran, as you referred to it, made me really happy.
All right. Well, maybe we could go with Frisco, too. I hear that that's equally as objectionable.
Is it?
I think.
Fantastic. Okay.
I'm just trying to get my city slurs down.
Absolutely. So, yeah. No, I just like to throw those in as much as possible in case some stupid San Fran or Friskian decided to listen to the show to this point.
If there's anybody who knows, see, the people who live in the Bay Area around Frisco, I think Frisco's in Texas, isn't it? Like there's an actual town called Frisco. So maybe that's why it's objectionable to people in the Bay Area. But we do have listeners in the Bay Area. I want to know, is San Fran worse or is Frisco worse? Or are they equally bad that we can use them interchangeably?
Well, I can go back to Britt and ask her again, but as a near decade resident of the Bay Area, she found that
she probably should have some standing in this. Yeah. All right. Well, Nathan is our winner this week. Lame Hawk. Oh no, Lame Hawk name was second.
Yes,
was in second place, which
wonderful,
I thought was funny for a team name.
Love it, dude. Love it. That was awesome.
Wirehawks is in first place with 165 points. Fernando Tejada in second with 164. Captain Long John, I like to touch my Bobo in third. And then we got Geno's Best, Lock It Away, W Divining Rod, rounding out the top 5. Adam, for Pick'em this week on Thursday night, we've got the Broncos going into LA and facing the Chargers. 58% picking the Chargers as the home team.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. Chargers at home. They got stomped this last week, and it makes you wonder what that does for momentum. I mean, it's kind of where the Seahawks are at right now too. Broncos continue to, plug along, and I'm a believer. I'm definitely a believer. I'm going Broncos here.
I'm going Chargers. The Broncos were okay. I needed a risk pick this last week, and there wasn't a lot that made sense. Yeah. I went with the Colts because I thought Colts are at home. Who's more of a boom or bust team than the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson as their quarterback? I think they have a chance to win. And they had a chance, Adam, to put away the stupid Broncos, but Jonathan Taylor drops the friggin' football before he crosses the goal line, and the Colts never find the end zone again.
Yep.
I was so mad.
The Titans and Indy are the two teams this year that I'm just like, they're the biggest. Like, if I'm putting real money on games, those would be my 2 biggest stay away teams in the entire league.
The Titans were my other choice, though, because I like to I like to pick home teams as my upset picks.
That makes sense.
And they were going up against a Bengals team with a losing record. And I thought it took me longer than it should have to be like, no, I can't pick the Titans. And they were in it too for a big part of that game.
That's true fact. So we talked about a false Sophie's choice for the Vikings. You had a real Sophie's choice in your risk pick between Titans and Indy.
And either one, it looked like either one could have been correct for a good part of the day on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
Well, as Kurt Warner reminds us in his gambling commercials, like, what is it? 68% of the time, every time the team comes from behind to win. So
It's true.
yeah.
All right. We have John coming in the mailbag. If you want to be a part of the mailbag, you can go to seahawkerspodcast.com, click on the content or the contact link, send us an email. And John says, "Hi, fellas. Deep down, I think a lot of us were expecting this, but maybe not as bad as this. Finally, we hit a good team and we found out how far we have come. I don't know how you felt at the game, but watching it, I never felt we would catch them after going down 2 touchdowns. And so it was. You got any more news on Geno for this weekend? For those of us who struggle to get up-to-date news, all we have to do is go again this weekend and try to get a win. Maybe now the Vikes have a wild card, so they may relax a little, or maybe not. I've just had a look at the Rams schedule, and they have the Jets and the Cards before us, so I think we'll have to win out. Oh well, let's give it our best shot, and a Commanders collapse wouldn't go amiss either. If you're getting carried away, perhaps your balloon has a little less air in it, and remember, we get through it like the Packers or the Vikes again. We live in hope. Go Hawks, and happy Christmas to all Hawks fans worldwide from the Bard." John Davis.
Hey, happy Christmas, John, for sure. Let's hope that we get a early Christmas present with the Jets taking down the Rams here. That'd be nice.
The Jets taking down the Rams, that would help us keep pace. The way that the playoff picture is shaping up, the Seahawks, they just at this point, need to keep pace with the Rams. So if the Rams were to lose to the Jets, then a loss to the Vikings doesn't impact us in terms of the division race. It will impact us in terms of the wild card race because the Commanders being 1 game up, they have a pretty easy schedule, relatively easy schedule going down their final 3 games. Unless you, it's going to be tough to catch them if you lose a game, I think.
Yeah.
So it means that either the Rams need to lose to the Jets, or even better would be if they were to lose to the Arizona Cardinals, because then that counts as a division loss. And we could need one of those. It would work out better if they didn't lose the Jets game but beat the Cardinals. I don't know. It works out better for us actually if the Rams lose to the Cardinals.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you. It works out best for us if the Rams just lose the rest of the way out. And I'm here for it.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Because let's see, if they lose out, then we obviously keep pace with them because we have one more win because we beat them.
Right.
So it works out.
Yeah.
Although if that happens, if we lose, if we go 1-2 down the stretch and the Cardinals win out, I think they end up overtaking us.
Probably.
Which that wouldn't be great either.
No, that would hurt my feelings.
Yeah. So we'll get more into the playoffs next week as there are 2 games left rather than 3. We don't need to get into all the scenarios this week.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Although you and Clinton, we were on a little video chat together, and you broke out the playoff machine, and which I think out of all the things in life, Brandon, is the playoff machine the 5th most fun thing that you enjoy? Like, it seems like the amount of joy you get from the playoff permutation machine is quite high. So I was just wondering where that ranks for you.
It is high because I watch people during draft season do the mock draft thing, and that just doesn't excite me that much.
Nah.
But the playoff machine, that I think that's my December crack as far as football goes.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy it very much. It's
Yeah.
Tis the season for the playoffs.
Tis the season. You bet. Permutation season.
it's it's a problem. I understand, but it's fine. Out of all the problems a person could have, playoff machine doesn't have a ton of impact.
I'll tell you straight up, man, of everybody I know, whatever your problems are the lowest on the list of almost any human I know. Like, your problems are very minor.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of problems, why don't we get on to some do better?
All right, man. My do better this week. And I've cooked both of these up on the fly while we're doing the show because I haven't had time to really look it up. But this feels right. What is I was sitting here and we were talking a little bit about the schedule going down the stretch and the stupid Rams. Like, my do better this week is for the stupid Bills and the stupid San Fran 49ers. Like, what the hell the last 2 weeks? Bills lose to the stupid Rams. How in the world did you let that happen? You just didn't show up defensively for that game. You should have spanked them. Then they go out and they beat Detroit last week. Like, it's just a poke in the eye. Like, one more time. Like, hey, look, we're actually really good. We could have easily beat the Rams, but we couldn't do it for you because, no, you're the Seahawks and you get no help from anybody else. And then San Fran to go out there and do what they did against the Rams. 6 catfish points. They have a player quit in the middle of the game, and they can't beat the Rams when they score 12 catfish points to help us out. They can't do it. Screw these guys. You guys stabbed us in the back. Bills and San Fran, do better.
It's very annoying how it's set up. That they still need to find a way to how can we not close out this Rams team? I'm still mad that we didn't help close out the Rams team when they were going on their early season losing streak. Sorry to bring it up.
I know.
So, yeah, that we may end up facing the wrath of that, and I don't want to be there when that happens. If it happens,
no.
It won't happen. We'll win.
Yeah.
My do better this week is for the Charlotte Hornets, Adam. This may be one of the biggest PR disasters I think I've ever seen a team do, and it was completely self-inflicted and despicable, gross, and even a little bit weird because they brought this kid during, the thing that teams do at either a halftime or a stoppage and play where they bring a kid onto the field or they bring someone in to do just throw footballs through a ring and you win money.
Sure. Yeah.
They brought this kid out onto the court and talked about just how, like, they read this kid's letter about how he wanted to play video games, or he wanted a video game system for Christmas. And they brought in this bag to give to the mascot, to give to the kid, a box with a PlayStation 5 in it.
Wow.
The only thing is that it was only intended to be a skit and not an actual gift. After they gave this kid the PS5, they took it away and in replacement gave him a jersey. And the problem is that I guess the kid's uncle was in on it, that it wasn't actually going to be the PS5. But the kid was not in on it and was apparently devastated by the fact that here they give this gift to him, and then as soon as the cameras are off, they take it away. After the fact, after this blew up, the Charlotte Hornets did the right thing and said that in fact they were going to give them the system and that they would also give them a VIP experience at a future game. But it didn't need to be this hard, Charlotte. Like, if you do this, you give the gift that you're actually giving. Like, this is not a real expensive thing. This is a $500 PlayStation for an organization that's worth billions. How do you mess this up? It's ridiculous. Do better.
My goodness, that's rough. First off, bad uncle. That's a bad uncle. You don't want that uncle. You need to cut him out of your life if he was in on this, number one, kid. Like, don't trust him with anything ever again. Number two, the Hornets be having that Jordan money. Like, they can't afford a PS5 for this kid. Like, how cheap? And then thirdly, so they give the kid the PS5 and then they take it away. What were they then going to do with the PS5? That's what I want to know.
I don't know if it was just an empty box. Like, this is what they described it in the quotes that I saw as a skit. And How is it a skit if this kid is not an actor in said skit, like that knows that it's not real?
Yeah. Isn't that more of a prank at that point?
It does seem more of a prank.
Against a poor child.
The hell out of this kid.
Golly. That's awful, dude. I didn't know that happened. Bad form.
The mascot had this like Santa outfit on. He was sitting in a chair. It was like the mascot was Santa, and this kid, they read his note, and it just to watch the video and then to know what played out afterward. It's great idea around the holidays, Charlotte Hornets PR team.
Well, I think we've learned one very important lesson from this, and that's never to trust insect Santa.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If Santa comes to you, if Hornet Santa comes to your doorstep, you hit him with a big can of Raid.
It's probably closer to the Krampus at this point than actual Santa.
Yes. Yeah.
But he's lucky he still has an uncle.
Yeah. I think maybe the correct term right now is estranged uncle. Yeah.
He's lucky he has an estranged uncle. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. My better at life than Skip Bayless this week. Again, coming up with these on the fly because I didn't have time. It's for me, and I'll tell you why. I'm going back to Grub because this is the week. This is it.
You finally.
I feel like I was the lone person on the internet.
The week that you get to spike it.
Yeah, it's time. Like I feel like I was the only person on the internet when the Grub hiring came on and they announced it. And I came on and said, this is the first big mistake of Coach Mike's career. It's an awful hire. He's a college dude. College dudes don't succeed. Here's the record. His offense sucks. It's all shotgun. It's all big shots down the field. It's all drop back. Blah, blah, blah. Everything that we've seen up until this point. I got crushed. I got killed by everybody because he was a UW guy. And since, Seattleites stand by their own, which is fine. Like, I get it. Like, I was the catfish. Like, no, I wasn't. I was just talking the truth. And here it is. I held it together for 5 weeks of this nonsense without finally losing my mind. This is the week. I want him gone. I want him gone tomorrow. If it happens to be the end of the season, fine. But I held it together for 15 weeks, Braden. I think that deserves a little bit of credit. It wasn't easy. So to me, I am better at life than Skip Bayless.
You did it. Congratulations. The funny thing about this that I found are some of the people who are coming out then and saying, well, it was Kalen DeBoer, really, who was the guy running the show in at UW. When at the same time, I feel like because we had the question of, well, does he even call plays at UW?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, of course. He's the guy.
Oh, you don't watch college ball, dummy. Of course he calls the plays. You're a dummy. It's like, okay. Like, who's the dummy now? Like, just, God.
You did it. Generally, I would say not great form to give ourselves better at life nominations. But in this case,
agreed.
You deserve it, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Usually if I nominate myself for anything, it's do better, right? Like, because that,
now you're bringing a little bit of balance to the force. And
1 to 10, okay. And I feel like this was a big one,
Well, my better at life this week is for one of our Seahawks, Uchenna Nwosu, who earned this team's nomination earlier this month for Walter Payton Man of the Year. Those winners are going to be announced coming up on the NFL Honors Ceremony, February 6th. And it's great because it brings attention to Nwosu's charity work. He does charity work down in LA because he was with the Chargers and continues to do work down there. He also does stuff in Seattle. He's done a winter coat drive. He's done like a reading corner for the Boys and Girls Club. He does Toys for Tots stuff in the Seattle area. And I just thought that was cool. He's got our team's nomination. But with that nomination, it also puts a little bit on us as fans, because while each nominee gets $55,000 for a charity of their choice, $265,000 if Nwosu has announced the winner. But if we go to, let's see, NFL.com/man of the year, you can vote for Uchenna Nwosu. You can also use the hashtag WPMOY challenge, Walter Payton Man of the Year challenge, out on X. See, for all the people that have migrated over to Blue Sky, hopefully you still have your X account. You can go use the hashtag Walter Payton Man of the Year challenge. So that way those votes and collective hashtag mentions, they count. And we can get an additional 35,000 or 10,000 if he's the runner-up, or 5,000 for third place. So a little bit on us as fans. We can get more for Uchenna Nwosu's charity by helping him out. And for all of that, Nwosu, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, I am on the site right now as we were going through your Better at Life nomination here, and I'm voting for Uchenna right now. There we go.
Don't vote for Bobby Wagner, because I know it's tempting.
It is because it's hard to resist.
It is hard and Bobby Wagner's in the top 5 right now for votes.
Well, I mean, he's Bobby freaking Wagner. So, but with that said, Uchenna Nwosu, I mean, proves time and time again just what a quality human being he is. And, you know, it's one of the things that makes me the most proud about being a Seahawks fan is that for the most part, like with just very few exceptions over the years, they just have high quality individuals that make it easy to root for the team. And I just appreciate that a ton. Uchenna is a fantastic example of that. You've listed all the work that he's done. That's amazing. And and then you mentioned for the people who switched to Blue Sky, hopefully having the X account. So like the 3s of them, is that who you were talking to?
There's probably I've seen a lot of Seahawks fans, because I've created an account to join our fellow Seahawks fans over there. That I want to be where the conversation's at, but you know I still have the X account too.
Okay, well there you go. I guess it's not an either or proposition, right?
No, you can have both. I mean, people have Instagram. There's people who also have what are the other ones? TikTok. I mean, some people out there probably still have their MySpace page. I don't know how you have access to that, but it might still potentially be there.
There you go. Okay. Well, so it's not an either or, like choosing Uchenna or Bobby Wagner for Man of the Year.
Stop trying to vote for both.
No, I'm saying that is an either or. And not only that, but now that I voted for Uchenna, it gives me a button to vote again.
These are the best kind of elections.
Absolutely. This is a free and fair election. And because I feel like I did good for 15 weeks, I'm giving myself 3 votes for Uchenna. Boom. I just did 2 more.
You did it. Get on X, use all the hashtags. And I don't know, while you're there, give us a little like, a little subscribe too.
That'd be great. We appreciate it. We appreciate all you guys. It's been an up and down ride this year. It's been fun. There's still a lot of fun left to be had, or a lot more despair. I don't know. We'll see. This team keeps guessing that way, but I'm going for hope and fun.
Let's go with fun. I'm going to say we have some fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's beat the stupid Vikings. They can go scold themselves.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.